I never slept through the night. I used to wake up nearly every single night with an asthma attack. Like I had nightmares about being in the hospital as a child. It was very scary.
You can't breathe very well, and you're like trying to talk, but you can't talk to anybody and tell what's wrong.
I've had asthma all my life, and it's not been a very happy thing, but I've had it.
Asthma is a frightening disease. It leads to middle-of-the-night trips to the emergency room and frequent visits to the doctor's office. An armory of medications is the usual defense.
Having asthma is hard and frustrating, and when you want to go out and play with your friends or something, if you get really wheezy, you have to come in and use your inhaler.
I just stopped exercising because I knew that would induce an attack, and I'd rather not exercise than have an attack.
I wasn't able to go outside in the cold weather.
Sometimes I'd get treatment before lunch. I had to skip lunch. My lunchtime was over. I had to get out to recess. It's like I was outside, empty stomach, just because I went to the nurse.
Especially as you get older, the fear that you're not going to be able to breathe. Or also the fear that if you have to go in for surgery, that somehow you're not going to be able to come out of it because your lungs may collapse.
I felt like I was different than all the other children around, that I couldn't run around and do the activities that they were doing because I'd end up having an asthma attack. It made me feel like I was a sick person. I didn't like the fact. I felt like I had this disease that I couldn't cure and it couldn't be helped. I felt very isolated and kind of angry.
Asthma doesn't only affect those who suffer from the disease, it has a severe impact on the entire family.
We had to be planning ahead for everything, and we were always looking at the clock and figuring out, much like you do with a newborn baby, when will he need to be treated again so that we could be in a convenient spot to do that. It also impacted things like trying to have sleepovers, going to relatives' homes. The grandparents had to become trained and able to take care of him even for a simple afternoon out.
He'd be on nebulizers every 2 or 3 hours. He'd be on inhaled steroids. He'd be on oral steroids. He'd be on oral albuterol. And the medications had a dramatic impact not only on our lifestyle but on his well-being.
And it's not just about us preparing as a family. If my husband and I are not with Katie and she's away from us, it's sort of educating other people about that as well, and what to do in an emergency.
It's very difficult to see a kid, gasping for air. It's a horrible feeling. I see it in his face where there ain't no relief.
It's very frustrating. It's frustrating for an adult to manage this disease, let alone for a child that's small and is just really tired of using inhalers, tired of being told that they've got to be limited, tired of being outside and playing and finding out that, they can't continue to play outdoors, whether it's in the snow or whether it's jumping on the trampoline or whether it's riding bikes.
Having a child with asthma is like being on a roller coaster. You have your good times and you think, oh, maybe we're okay for a while. Then we'd go through some pretty bad times, and it was downright depressing.
He would sometimes break down and say, why do I have this? And, I try to tell him there's worse things than this. You have to try your best, believe in God and hope for the best. And look, here comes a miracle. And Singulair is the miracle.
Singulair has changed lives.
Last year was sort of a mild winter, but still it was cold. And not a wheeze, nothing. It's a miracle. It really is.
Since Singulair, Matthew's been on half the amount of medication as he was on before by frequency and has been better than ever before. We're able to maintain his peak flows above 80%. We can go out without necessarily having to take the nebulizer wherever we go. He's not chained to a machine.
As my dad said, I got off the nebulizer. It was great because in between the sprays I had freedom. I don't have 8 feet to walk, I had 100 feet to walk.
The security that it gives me in knowing that I'm not going to have a flare-up. I can almost rely on the fact that that's just not going to happen. Whereas before, I could feel myself slipping and wondering, when am I going to really need to use a rescue drug?
It's changed my life in the fact that I don't have to take so many medications anymore, and that I feel as if my asthma is under control, and that I'm no longer a sick person.
Singulair so far is the first drug that's come along that has made a difference in terms of convenience, in terms of her happiness and less frustration, and her participation sort of in everyday normal lifestyle.
It's been a miracle, really, because it's been helping me breathe better and doing things that I like to do now in the winter.
It is a big deal if you've never been able to blow up a ball before and play it with your son and run around after him and not have an asthma attack and not feel like you're in, I can go to the park now, we can run around and I can chase him and I'm fine and I don't have an attack. I feel like I can be a real mom.
Because of Singulair, asthma is no longer controlling the lives of their families either.
Being a father, and you're always worried about your son, your family. And it eases my mind a tremendous amount, knowing that, thank God, something is available to help him. And I feel very grateful that this has happened.
I don't think of Matthew as a sickly child anymore. I don't think of him as somebody who, every time he got a cold, uh-oh, this is the beginning of the end. We're not going to be able to do this, that, or the other, go on vacation. He's not going to be able to play soccer. He's going to miss school. He's going to miss camp because he's going to be sick. Now, he has to take maintenance medication, but I expect him to do well.
Singulair has made Matthew feel better. And like any mother, that makes me feel better. It has simplified his life. It has put fewer restrictions on his life, and it makes all of us just that much happier.
To see the drug make such a difference in Katie's life, and then to understand the research and the work that the physicians put to make this drug safe, particularly since they plan to use it for children, just moves me.
Thanks to Singulair, Matthew, Katie, and Michael can be kids again. Mandy can be the mother she wants to be. And Anne can take comfort in the knowledge that Singulair will help her live her life to the fullest.
I think right now Singulair is probably as close to being asthma-free as anyone can hope to get.
Singulair, changing lives.